I had come to the conclusion around the year 2000 that I was sick and tired of volunteering to give up my hard-earned money to people or to the government that they weren't entitled to. Eventually, I came across Pete's book. I've learned that by correcting those information forms and correcting the records, in most cases, you don't have to volunteer to pay the government any more than what's rightfully theirs, and you can keep what's rightfully yours. That's what CTC means to me.
Actually, it was my brother, a Catholic priest, who got me in on this. Anyway, I realized I'd always suspected something was wrong with the law, but I just never knew what. And it wasn't until, Pete, I read your chapter on includes and including about 50 times before it finally sunk in. I'm becoming a pro se attorney the next year or two, and this is going to be my specialty. And it's all to you, Pete. I thank you so much for everything you've done and for pointing this stuff out. It really has brought a totally new law and understanding and light to my mind about how to read the law.
Pete, I came across your book. It had to be probably 2 years ago, and I don't know. I honestly do not remember how I came across it, but I am so thankful I did. Spent probably 6 or 7 months reading it and rereading it, and I must have read it 6 or 7 times at least before I even attempted to do anything, and it was all good. Little background: I'm a partner with 3 other gentlemen in a fish processing plant in New Bedford, Mass. And I have been involved in a lot of governmental things for the running of the boats and the fishing areas that we're in, and just a lot of governmental control over our business. And after reading your book, I progressed to, I filed 3 years of amended returns for 2005, 6, and 7. I was, I believe, the first CTC follower or reader that received a refund from the state of Rhode Island for last year's taxes in 2007. I read the book. The first website that I visit in the morning is losthorizons.com, just to get myself up to date with what's going on with everything.
As far as CTC, I had been an advocate of the fair tax plan for probably in 2007, did a lot of research on that, read through their figures and analysis and all kinds of stuff, and I kind of like the idea of, something doesn't seem quite right, or it seems like oppressive taxation, or something's not right. But I hadn't really read much. I hadn't really read the Constitution or the Revenue Acts or Supreme Court rulings or all kinds of stuff like that. So actually, after I had a car accident in January of '08, and I was on YouTube, I think, and I was commenting on someone's post, and one of the posters said he had secured a refund of everything withheld, and that to something about learning about the true nature of the tax and stuff. So I thought, oh, why not? And it came to Lost Horizons and got the book and read it a number of times, and '07 was the first filing knowledgeably, actually, of what's going on. I can honestly say, part of the motivation is to get a refund back of our own property, but also as I learn more, it kind of, a lot of different thoughts run through your mind, but it kind of makes you angry. I mean, I feel like, injustice is being done under fraudulent pretense, and people are being robbed. Families, I mean, we talk about economic stimulus. How much if people had their own property back, could they give to charity? They could help the elderly, the sick, their families get out of debt, and even be more empowered as citizens and not have their money just wasted. Of course, it's such a terrible secret, or and plus a good fundraiser, right? There's no way they're gonna just get up and say a national TV announcement and say, by the way, most people don't owe income tax if they didn't, engage in taxable activity.
I began to realize that if somebody didn't stand up for these things, it easily could be, all the information and knowledge could be lost in only one generation, because the government could easily, obviously they're not teaching this in school, and they're doing everything they can, as the last newsletter from Pete stated, that no matter what you say, they twist what you say. So my concern is, have we entered a time similar to what our forefathers faced when the government no longer followed the rule of law, and they were faced with the decision as to what they were going to do. My concern is, have we entered that time now ourselves?
From 1980 to 1997, I was a police officer, and I experienced an Irish agent coming out to take a person's car. And since that time, I thought to myself, you know, this is not America. I'm a police officer to protect the public and the Constitution. I took an oath and stuff. So by the time after that, I had several cases of running Irish agents on people's property, studied the Constitution and more. I said to myself, you know, this is not America. They have the free and home of the brave. So since that time, and thank God for Pete Hendricks and his information, now I've come to the round circle and putting two together and make it a solid four. And so I devoted the rest of my life to fighting this stuff for freedom in the American way. Basically, that's my story, and thank God for Pete Hendrickson.
I always had an instinctive feeling that something was really wrong about the IRS. Just, I don't even know where that came from. When the 9/11 happened, I got much more deeply into kind of government corruption and these kinds of things, and the whole tax scam was a big part of that. And then I think it was, let's see, what are we, 2009 now? I think sometime in 2005 I was listening to Jeff Rentz's show, and some guy on there, I don't even know what they were talking about, threw out your name and the book and the website, and I went and looked at it and bought your book right away, and I read it, and you know, it was almost like too good to be true. And I loved it. And it took me, reading it 3 times, it took me probably like 2 years before I got the guts up to actually do my filing. And I did 2006, I think was the first year that I filed. And I waited the 6 months, and I waited to see my transcript, and it showed 0. You know, I'm also from Michigan too, and I think there's something about that Wolverine energy that has that fighting spirit in there, and I just, you know, I just stand up for the truth, and it really, it hurts me and it angers me to know that this is such a scam and such a ripoff, and people have been lied to their entire lives and gone through, you know, tremendous amounts of pain and suffering and all of the stuff that goes along with filing taxes and all the energy that go into and the theft. It just makes me crazy. So I'm just telling everybody I can. The learning part of it is fascinating, and once you get it and once you start to realize how they've manipulated things and how they set things up in that way, it's just so freeing.